So Betty White and the car I rented, I always seem to rent white cars, by the way, so there's been more than one Betty White in my travels. But Betty and I found ourselves driving the Algarve. I did some long driving. I found it beyond stressful because driving with Michelle these days is not a comfortable, compatible relationship. I don't like anything that has dead drops either side. I don't like bridges, and I don't like people who tailgate for speed, and I seem to find that everywhere I go. There's going to be some fun discussions of other countries down the track. But on my travels, because I thought, well, I have Betty. It's the first time I've driven a car in 8 years or so, I think. It was 8 years, something like that. And I needed to explore beyond Faro that was only 20 k's from where I was staying. So I went to Tavira and I went to Lagos. Tavira and Lagos were kind of cute and sweet and beautiful, and I have a little bit of video and a little bit of photo from both, so I've combined it. I think I drove there and I had a bit of a walk around, but it just, again, I just wasn't feeling it. I just really wasn't feeling it. So here's my share. There's some commentary, obviously, because for some reason when I video, I talk. So I quite like the feel of Tavira. Don't know if it's a place to live or just a cute place to visit, but it's kind of gorgeous, kind of quaint, kind of old school but sweet. A few real estate agents, and I think there's the river over there, but this is kind of the town square. I'm going to go and have something to eat in a minute, and I walked past the Thai massage place of all things, but let's nobody's around me so I can pull off this stupid the only thing I've done is get in a pool at where I live, which I'll send you something of, but it was still pretty good. Basically I froze. Apparently the ocean gets warmer. I don't know if I like the ocean warm. Yeah, I'm seeing the river, so let's go to the river and then come back and have a nice little bite at one of these little restaurants and support the Portuguese economy. It's kind of a nice, quiet little square, which might drive me nuts, but I don't know if what will be the clincher will be the fact that I need less fully boiling weather all the time and more of a mix. Had breakfast this morning, really early-ish. People are sunbathing, sort of. The one thing here is I don't think there's a bias towards size, which is really nice. I think Tavira is Tavira because it's on the river and not an ocean, so already almost making it there. I'm so not taking you to the Thai massage with me, but yeah, this is kind of beautiful. I like Tavira so far. In Portugal, where I just had octopus rice. This place was cute and sweet and very local, and I can't remember if I enjoyed the food, but I know I was really hungry when I had it. Tavira. Quite cute, quaint. So you can see the back of Betty. I do always photograph where I leave the car so I can make sure I can find it again. But you can see there's a lot of alfresco dining, and even in a small place like Tavira, it was impossible to find parking that was unpaid. It might be that all these towns are really popular and they're all on the Algarve, but that was my experience everywhere. It was either impossible to get parking or it cost money. But this was a really nice place to have walked around. I am always going to be happy that when I went to Portugal and when I visited the Algarve that I went to Tavira. It is a very, very quiet little place, but then maybe that's a summer thing or the height of summer. because of the heat. It's hard to know. This will just give you an indication also of like one of the streets. I really liked the tree actually. It had the most beautiful yellow flowers. But, you know, these are the kind of buildings this would be a very traditional part of Portugal to live if I'd chosen to settle here. And while I enjoy going there, and I'm, as I said, really glad I went there, I don't see it as somewhere I would necessarily have wanted to live. Like I didn't get there and go, this is home. And maybe I've got an unrealistic expectation of what I'm looking for, but also it just didn't necessarily have a place or a feel of a place where I could go, yeah, I could see myself making this home. But it was a really nice visit. So this is the harbour at Lagos, which is supposed to be a small fishing village. Maybe it was once, but now not so much. So it does bring back memories of a time where we were all still wearing masks, and in a summer heat I don't recommend it. I kind of liked the boat behind me, but you're seeing, you know, weird remnants of the fact that these places were fishing villages, but now they're kind of very tourist orientated. And so, you know, it's pick up a tour or have a meal, but that's really the major pull of Lagos itself. There were a few kind of other things that you could have done if you had like a catamaran. I think there were some really nice catamarans that you could see in the background. But you know, one side of it is the harbour you're seeing is the water, and it's beautiful, but there's no way you can sit outside. It's just too hot. It was bigger than Tavira, definitely, and you could walk along that promenade, which I did. There were shops further up. You could park anywhere along it, but it was all paid parking, which I did. Betty and I were there. And, you know, it was a beautiful day. But you're still kind of very much trapped in a town that's coming alive just for that. And when you're thinking about somewhere to live, that's probably really not the priority in your mind for it. Although, if you were going to live on a boat, maybe it would be perfect. But again, if you do find yourself in the Algarve, it was definitely a nice place. But as I'll show you on the map, it wasn't close to where I was, so it was a huge trip there. And I don't know that it was worth it. I did try and go to a beach there, and it was impossible to park anywhere near it, so you couldn't park in any of the places nearby, and you couldn't park in the streets and streets up, and it was kind of a huge area to kind of get near. So Lagos is a little bit further inland as well, so you really kind of, from my experience, sadly, getting the highlights. Yeah, Lagos, not in Nigeria, but Portugal. So in terms of travelling the Algarve, Alaho was where I was staying, and basically I drove as much as I could of it. So the map you're seeing is of the major locations. So the second place I went back and forward was Tavira, which is highlighted now, and I shared what I captured from there. Really nice little town. It's a lot more driving than it looks like because it was hot as well. Then, of course, Lagos, or Lagos, I'm not sure how they pronounce it in Portugal, sorry. And that was a huge trip out. And I had considered, went into, but didn't really stop and do much in, because it ended up being a very built-up party town, was Albufeira. It was a nightmare to drive in and even park in, and like it was worse. So I can't comment. And next, I did actually do a bit of a day trip to Faro, so I'll be sharing that. There was one other place I wanted to explore, which was Sagres, which is right over the other end, but I just couldn't bring myself to do the drive, because there's a lot of driving in just seeing this amount of the Algarve. It's worth putting extra time aside if you're going to explore it and go with someone. So I think it's pretty clear that I don't necessarily have much that worked for me in these places, but I don't know that I can give you a proper insight into what would work for you. Why I didn't really hang around them was also because it was super busy, and it was just almost impossible to get near beaches or park or be anywhere that you could just go. So the other thing about it is that the best time of year to go to Portugal, it's almost inaccessible as well. Super hot, super difficult to get around, there's no parking or you're paying for it. So again, it wasn't an experience I enjoyed, and it can be for other people, but for me it wasn't. So but these were cute places that you've now had a little bit of an insight into.